Hare Krishna. Hello, everyone. Pretty bad lighting in here, as you can tell. There's just so much sunlight. Such a beautiful day. Anyway, we'll get right to it. I don't want to keep going too long. I'm so busy these days. Oh, yeah, I want to practice that. See if I can eventually memorize this first invocation mantra. Om Gyanatimmirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksur Unmilitam Yena Tashmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Dandavadis. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Love that smell of book paper. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right, we are in chapter 3, verse 1. Chapter 3 is all about karma yoga. It's the only chapter that I might like more than chapter 2, maybe. Text 1. Arjuna said, "O Janardana, O Keshava, why do you urge me to engage in this ghastly warfare if you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work?" Very good question. So in the previous chapter, Buddhi Yoga, or Krishna consciousness, has been recommended. And sometimes this is misunderstood to be inertia, and one with such a misunderstanding often withdraws to a secluded place to become fully Krishna conscious by chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna. Now, to be fair, that is actually recommended by Krishna later on. But anyway, that's not the only way. But without being trained in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, it is not advisable to chant the holy name in a secluded place where one may acquire only cheap adoration from the innocent public. And so Arjuna was thinking that, like most people, especially in that part of the world, when you think of yoga or spirituality, you think it means retiring, basically, renouncing from active life and practicing austerities in a secluded place. And so Arjuna was thinking that, and then so he has to ask Krishna, why you first told me to fight, but then you tell me that there's all this deep yoga stuff that I should be doing. So which one is it? Do I fight or I do all this fancy yoga stuff? As a sincere student, he placed the matter before his master and questioned Krishna as to his best course of action. And that's the third chapter, answering that question. Verse 2, my intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions. I'm not really sure what equivocal means here. Therefore, please tell me decisively what is most beneficial for me. Let's look up equivocal. Obviously, the root is equal. Okay. Open to more than one interpretation. Ambiguous. Oh, look at that. Equivocal, vocal, voice, equal, means all the voices seem equal. So you can't tell which one is correct. Equivocal. It's one of the few words that actually makes sense in English because it's not based off English. It's based off Latin or Greek or something. I think we can skip the purport here. Although it should be important to note here, Krishna had no intention of confusing Arjuna by any jugglery of words. Arjuna could not follow this process of Buddhi Yoga, Krishna consciousness, either by inertia or active service. And Arjuna is clearing the way, clearing the path of Krishna consciousness for all students who seriously want to understand the mystery of the Bhagavad Gita. Um, I think it should also be noted that we should try to be good students like Arjuna and not say, just give me the answer. I don't want to do any work. I just want you to just do it for me. Why do I have to do all the yoga? Why can't my teacher do all that and just give me all the good stuff at the end? Most people are actually like that. Most Americans that I meet are actually like that. They are very good at pretending they're not, but that's actually what's happening. There is a higher level of surrender that is required. And no, you're not going to die, but it is fearful. I was there at one point myself, and I still am now. Surrender never ends. But you just got to keep working each time, keep surrendering more and more to that which should be surrendered to. For instance, Bhagavad Gita. Text 3. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Blessed Lord said, O sinless Arjuna, I have already explained that there are two classes of men who realize the self. Some are inclined to understand him by empirical philosophical speculation, and others are inclined to know him by devotional work. Karma and bhakti, or buddhi in this place, I think he's referring to. Let's see what Prabhupada says. In the second chapter, verse 39, the Lord explained two kinds of procedures, Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga, or buddhi yoga. So now Prabhupada is saying Karma Yoga is like buddhi yoga? Anyway, Sankhya Yoga, or the analytical study of the nature of spirit and matter, is the subject matter for persons who are inclined to do philosophy, etc. The other class of men work in Krishna consciousness, as is explained in 261 and also 239. By working the principles of Buddhi Yoga, or Krishna consciousness, which I believe, this is what Prabhupada says earlier. He's likening that to karma yoga, which is the main topic of chapter 2 and 3. So it doesn't just mean karma. It means whatever karma or action you're doing it, you do it for the Lord. Pure karma yoga or buddhi yoga. Maybe we should take a quick peek at 61. Oh, 61 is right after all the pictures. That is probably significant. One who restrains his senses and fixes his consciousness upon me is known as a man of steady intelligence. That was 261. So by working this Buddhi Yoga, one can be relieved from the bonds of action, and furthermore, there is no flaw in the process. So it's Karma Yoga and Buddhi Yoga. I can totally see how they're similar now. Although I still think it's a bit of a stretch for Prabhupada to say that Buddhi Yoga is the same as Krishna consciousness. Isn't Bhakti Yoga a better synonym for Krishna consciousness? Because Buddhi literally means spiritual intelligence, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, let's just keep going. And so this is explained more clearly in the 61st verse. This Buddhi Yoga is to depend entirely on the Supreme, on Krishna. And in this way, the senses can be brought under control easily. So both yogas are interdependent as religion and philosophy. Religion, here's a very famous quote of Prabhupada. Religion without philosophy is sentiment or sometimes fanaticism, while philosophy without religion is mental speculation. That should be repeated 1 billion times over. I think you'll agree with me the problem with at least North American ISKCON today, but even the ISKCON I saw in China and other places, we definitely fall into the first trap with not enough philosophy and a little bit too much fanaticism. We don't have really a sentiment problem in ISKCON, although it does happen sometimes. Like, the what main the wide what's the word here? I was going to say mainstream. I guess that works, but like the widespread use of this Vaishnava aparad and Vaishnava etiquette as like a social motivator in behavior. Um, that's sentiment. A lot of times that really comes down to sentiment, where if you were to just forget about that for a second and just focus on serving Krishna more, you would see that, well, some people just suck at their job, and we just need to be grown-ups and deal with that and move on. And if sometimes you explain that in a harsh way and people's feelings get hurt, that's actually fine. I mean, it sucks, but you comfort them. You say, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I'm trying to help you." And if you are genuinely trying to do that, they will understand, they will easily forgive you, and everything will get better. But when you're walking on eggshells all the time, like, "Oh, I can't be seen as a speculator. I can't be seen as a Vaishnava operati. I can't be seen this way or that way." That's all Maya. That's all mundane, social, tribalistic, human or subhuman behavior, which is exactly what most Americans are doing anyway. So I'm not surprised at all to see that happening in ISKCON North America, because ISKCON North America is made of North Americans. I'm also not surprised to see ISKCON China or ISKCON Japan following the lead of ISKCON North America, because that's what they do in their culture. They follow the leader. And the leader of ISKCON is Srila Prabhupada and the top GBC gurus right under him, who are all white people. So, man, ideally we would have, the Indian, this is starting to happen, where the Indian community is taking a much bigger handle on the future of ISKCON. I want to push this more and more. I'm a yellow supremacist and a brown supremacist, and I'm very anti-white. Sorry, I'm just so racist. I know, right? I don't actually care about race, but the Indians are in North America are extremely grown up and mature and rich and working together harmoniously. They're just really good people. So right now they're at the point where they're mostly like just donating a lot of money to these temples, and a lot of the people actually working hard in the temple communities are local people who are often white or black or whatever. But I don't know if this will continue. I think eventually all those Indians who put all their money into these ISKCON temples will start to say, "Hey, I don't know if this is actually doing that much. Maybe we should take a more active role in this." And that will ultimately be a good thing for ISKCON, I think, because the problem with Western people is that we are so intellectually confident, and sometimes for good reason, that we just think we're right. Like we just like because we know the answer on the test and we get an A, it means we're a good person. Like we actually believe that, and it's BS. It's garbage. Whereas the Indians and the Chinese too, a lot of Asian people today, they don't actually intellectually understand a lot of stuff. The Gita, the other things, they don't actually have a good, like, solid, detached, like, conceptual understanding of this. They have an attached, intuitive, complete, like, wholesome, working understanding of it, which is better, which actually gets stuff done. And that's what all of us actually want. Rant over. The ultimate goal is Krishna, but because the philosophers, who are also sincerely searching after the absolute truth, come in the end to Krishna consciousness. This is also stated in the Gita. The whole process is to understand the real position of the self in relation to the super self. The indirect process of philosophy, which gradually one may come to the point of Krishna consciousness. And the other process is directly connecting with everything in Krishna consciousness. Of these two, the path of Krishna consciousness is better because it does not depend on purifying the senses by a philosophical process. Okay, very important there. If you do want to have philosophy, if you want to be good at it, you have to purify your senses. You can't just start doing philosophy. You have to do all the preliminary stuff first. And this is why we don't see a lot of philosophy in ISKCON now, because most people are not philosophers. My Guru Hridayananda Maharaj is, Garuda Das is, I am. There's a few others, a few. I saw one excellent, ISKCON Guru. I forget his name. He's from Canada. Anyway, there's a few of us, but to be good at philosophy, you have to fully detach from your emotional responses. This goes back to Aristotle, who said that the educated man is one who can entertain any idea without being compromised, basically. I'm paraphrasing. That's not high level, like, oh, he's a sage. That's level 1. That means you're a white belt in philosophy. That's where you begin. Most people are not there yet. They're sub level 1. They're level 0, level -1, -2, etc. And this is not something you get to just skip past if you want to be an actual philosopher. But you can skip past philosophy entirely by doing this Buddhi Yoga, or Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is itself the purifying process, and by the direct method of devotional service, it is simultaneously easy and sublime, which is true. What can I say? I mean, I wish there were more philosophers like me around and in positions of power, because then we would be more intelligent, and that's always going to be a good thing. But yeah, if you really want, oh man, this is why it's so like beautifully ironic. If you really wanted the truth, well, this is why the philosopher king is like the number one man. Srila Prabhupada being, one such manifestation of the perfect leader that Aristotle talked about, the philosopher king. Because when you really are hungry for the truth in a purely philosophical way, eventually you will come to meet your master. You will know the self in comparison with the super self. And as soon as you know the super self, you will look back at all of your philosophy and go, oh, wow, that doesn't matter anymore. And what really matters is this living, visceral relationship I have with the Lord. And because you taste it so, like I said, viscerally, and it's that taste is on top of this foundation of knowledge and purified senses from years of practice. Someone who attains it this way is like they go straight up to Madhyama Adhikari in 1 second. It's very fast advancement. I just don't know why people don't want to do philosophy anyway. I never got how someone could have a human body and not want to do philosophy. I never got that. Text 4. Not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. That's a critical verse. Let me see if that's in my notes here. 3, 4. No, I don't have it here. I'm going to put that one in my notes. I'll summarize that by saying, cannot abstain from work I mean, what's the difference from merely abstaining from work and renunciation? Renunciation is just the same thing plus more. So I can see why I didn't actually save this in my notes here. It's kind of obvious. And the purport is kind of small too, so I think Prabhupada agrees. Anyway, let's read the purport. The renounced order of life can be accepted upon being purified by the discharge of the prescribed form of duties which are laid down just to purify the heart of materialistic men. Without purification, one cannot attain success by abruptly adopting the fourth order of life, sannyas. I gotta read this slower, more carefully. Yeah, so you can't just adopt the sannyasi costume and then it means you're renounced. You have to actually purify yourself with sacrifice and austerity, and to such a degree that um, the the formality of adopting sannyas is exactly that. It's a formality, just like initiation and just like marriage. When two people get married, they should know very strongly inside themselves and with each other that they are married and they will never cheat on each other, and that's it for the rest of their lives. They should know that fully and purely and truly and strongly before marriage. And then when they do go through the formal ceremony, that's just like the final nail in the coffin. Bad bad analogy, I know, but just like the last piece of icing on the cake. It's not, I don't want to say it's not essential because it kind of is. Um, but the best marriages, the best husbands and wives, um, if you ask like if you took away their wedding rings and their marriage certificates, nothing would change. They would just continue being married because they know that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is their connection and their character and cultivating those things earnestly. Marriage is the same as friendship, just in a male female context with bigger stakes involved, but it's the same thing. It's just being a good friend of someone else. You have to have similar character that they have, similar state of character, similar ethos, similar adhikari, and foster a connection and then cultivate the connection. That's it. According to the empirical philosophers, simply by adopting sannyas or retiring from fruitive activities, one at once becomes as good as Narayan, God. That means God. But Lord Krishna does not approve this principle. Without purification of heart, sannyas is simply a disturbance to the social order. On the other hand, if someone takes to the transcendental service of the Lord, even without discharging his prescribed duties, whatever he may be able to advance in the cause is accepted by the Lord, Buddhi Yoga. Svalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhahyat. Even a slight performance of such a principle enables one to overcome great difficulties. I mean, that's so true. If you the you look at what all the first disciples did in those like 10 years or however long that Prabhupada was around. He would have a disciple say, like Shivananda Prabhu, who I was just doing service with an hour ago. Um, he was the first devotee to be sent abroad. And Prabhupada just said, yeah, go to Germany. You know, that's it. Go set up temples, go conquer all of Germany. Go do it. And he was like a 20-year-old kid. I mean, zero training of many different kinds, just, total opposite. You have the master of all masters, Srila Prabhupada, and then the dumb boy of all dumb boys. I'm not talking about Shivananda. I mean, just in general, most of these Prabhupada disciples, they'll tell you, admittedly so, if they're honest, that they were kids. They were immature kids who didn't know nothing about nothing. But there was so much mercy from Prabhupada and Krishna that they and enough purity of heart that they really did want to serve Prabhupada, that and they didn't have anything to get in the way of that. If they were older, it might have been worse actually, but because they were so young, they, like children, they can just say, "Oh, I love mommy, I love daddy, I'm just going to go make a gift for them." There's a purity of heart there, and that's all it takes to accomplish incredible things. I couldn't do that now. I couldn't just go to a country and start preaching and setting up a temple. I can't do that. Not even close. Okay. That next verse is a good one. What are we at for time here? 30 minutes? Yeah, I think we'll stop there. I want to be in the habit of making these classes shorter and more frequent anyway. So we left off on, next time we'll do 3:5. Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Shri Krishna, and everyone else as well. Haribol.